This is a special presentation from UFC Fight Pass. Step into our world at UFCFightPass.com. This is Extra Rounds. Extra Rounds.
Every week is Fight Week here on UFC Fight Pass, and we got a doubleheader headed your way from the Chubash Casino this weekend on Fight Pass. Friday night, it's Uriah Faber's A1 Combat. Saturday, it's boxing as Tom Loeffler's Hollywood Fight Nights will be live. I'm going to be there both Friday and Saturday. Flanking me on Friday, my Friday flanker, if you will. I love alliteration. Johnny LaQuasto, kind enough to join me here to talk a little bit about this A1 Combat card. Johnny, is it safe to say that A1 is probably California's premier regional feeder to the UFC's Octagon when you look at the landscape of MMA here on the West Coast?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how many fighters end up going to Contender Series and just at the level of competition that A1 always brings, I mean, I think it's safe to say. By the way, I do have a T-shirt with your face on the back that does say Flanker on top, so I'll be wearing that this weekend. That's
a terrible thing to admit, and also a terrible product. So don't ever actually make that.
I'm going to turn it into a jersey, like a tank top.
Nice. A flank top, if you will.
There you go. See? Setting you up, you knock it down.
See, this is what happens when you put us together in a booth, and that's what you're going to get on Friday. But, back to the question at hand. A1, I think, if you can become a standout with success at A1, I mean, you're doing the right things to get a shot on, Contender Series or even a short notice opportunity to fight in the UFC straight away.
Yeah, I mean, look, the eyes are always watching when it comes to A1, and you look at this card. This card has a little bit of everything. In the main event, you have two homegrown guys fighting for the now vacant featherweight title. Bruno Souza vacated it. He became a double champion, wanted his teammate Shane Collins to get a crack at the 145, and now he's got it, taking on Cody Vogels, who, if my numbers are correct, just about every one of his professional fights have been in an A1 cage. So this is an opportunity he's been waiting for quite some time. And then, in the co-main event, you have Sam Alvarez and Jose Estrada, two absolute dogs. Both have a plethora of finishes in their career. That's going to be very hard-hitting. And then you have a former champion. You have Ernie Juarez, who... This is really a fight between Juarez and Hernandez, to where they both are kind of in a must-win situation. They're both on 2-fight losing streaks. Juarez was 8-0, went to Contender Series, didn't go his way. Then he came back to A1 and lost via decision to Eric Sanchez. And Sanchez, great fighter, but most would consider that to be an upset. So both Hernandez and Ernie Juarez really, really need a win. It's really gut check time for both of them. And but TJ, one fight that is very exciting on top of all this is we have Youssef Asambayev and Wuktang Chumbertsi. These two are studs. Chumbertsi coming in 5-1, all finishes, 4 submissions. And Asambayev won his professional debut a number of months ago in 34 seconds. Both of these guys are tremendous grapplers, but also very dangerous strikers. So we have a lot of fun stuff ahead of us on Friday.
Yeah, except saying those names repeatedly.
We got to practice.
That's not going to be fun. I'm going to need one-on-ones with you, Johnny, because you nailed it.
I was practicing for at least 10 minutes before we got on here. Wuktang Chumbertsi, Youssef Asambayev.
Wuktang, do his fans call themselves the Wuktang clan?
They should. I think we should pitch that during the broadcast.
Put that on a T-shirt. You might actually sell a couple.
Good idea.
All right.
Granted, I could have possibly said his name incorrectly, but Wuktang to me sounds great.
I like it. Let's just go with it. If you and I both say it, maybe that's the way it is now. No matter what way it was before,
I think we offer it to him at weigh-ins and see what he says.
It's a good idea. All right. We're going to chat with Shane Collins. He's one half of your main event. He takes on Cody Vogels again Friday night. Featherweight Championship on the line. Uriah Faber's A1 Combat, live and exclusively on UFC Fight Pass. He's Johnny LaQuasto. He'll be on the call. I'm TJ DeSantis. I'll be there as well.
You'll be on the call.
Yeah. That's true.
You and I on the call. That's how it works.
Yeah. We're on a call right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a break.
Always calling.
Let's talk to Shane Collins next. And without further ado, we'll get to that. And then Friday night, live on Fight Pass, watch A1.
Welcome to the world of the wild side.
The biggest combat sports organization on the planet is taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to a whole new level.
It's rounded.
No one can just run away anymore.
16 of the best grapplers in the world have come to Las Vegas for a tournament unlike any other.
So stoked right now.
Guided by 2 superstar coaches, 5-time world champion Mikey Musumeci.
Yes!
And 2025 Pan Am's champion Harrison Gabriel.
This is your opportunity to become a world champion.
It will push them to the limit.
That kid's arm is.
And in the end, two men will become the first ever world champions in their division and launch a new era in combat sports.
The matches were the most exciting matches I've ever seen in my life. It's violent, it's scary, it's crazy.
This is UFC BJJ, Road to the Title.
This Friday night live on UFC Fight Pass, we're going to see a fun card from Uriah Faber's A1 Combat. Of course, it's live right here on UFC Fight Pass. And there's a fun featherweight fight in your main event with some gold on the line as Cody Vogels takes on our guest, Shane Collins. Shane, welcome to Extra Rounds. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Very, very nice to have you. Exciting time for yourself, 3-0 as a pro, headlining A1 Combat this Friday night on Fight Pass. And already in a title fight. I think that A1 has sort of established itself as the premier regional feeder to the UFC in the state of California. To vie for a title, what is that like for you this early in your career? Is this sooner than expected?
Not really. I've been saying since my pro debut that I should have been the main event. So I think I've always come in with that kind of level of confidence. And sure, it's only my fourth professional fight, but I have a long amateur career. Where I fought a lot of high-level guys around the world. Not many people, especially in the U.S., get that opportunity. So I delayed my pro career as long as I could, and so now I'm here. So yeah, to be fighting for a title in A1, obviously a major promotion on Fight Pass, it's a big deal. Be in the main event, it's a cool opportunity for sure. But make no mistake about it, I feel exactly where I'm supposed to be, if not a little behind track.
Behind track, that's interesting. Why behind?
I was supposed to make my pro debut, I believe, in, what was that, October or September of 2023. And I had like 8 or 9 different bouts that pulled out. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm 25 years old. And I mean, I should be 6, 7, 8-0 by now, which I'm not disappointed in, because at the end of the day, the more time you get to train, the better you become. So I'm not too worried about the record. I am just saying that I feel exactly where I'm supposed to be in main eventing, headlining, fighting for the title of a major promotion like this. It doesn't feel like any sort of step up or like I have any lack of experience for a job of this sort.
I mean, let me give you just a brief tip for interviews. When you're talking to two gentlemen who are over 40 years old and you say at 25 you're behind schedule in your progression, it hurts my heart a little bit. I feel like you demand more of yourself than I do. Maybe more than Johnny does as well. I can't speak for him, but
no, you and I live behind schedule. That's our daily life.
Yeah, whatever. But let's talk about the title fight. You get the opportunity against Cody Vogels. Vogels has been in this position before, vying for A1 Combat Gold. Do you feel he has any sort of experience edge fighting for a title? Because it should be noted that people watching this might not know, in the state of California, title fights are still 3 5-minute rounds. It's not a different structure, being that a belt is on the line. But do you think you're at any sort of disadvantage, coming into this fight for a pro title for the first time when he's already been there before?
Absolutely not. I think that if you were to look at this fight, most people would think that the objective advantage that he has is experience. And like I said, I don't know how many amateur fights he has. I think he only had like 4 or 5 amateur fights. I had 11 amateur MMA fights, 7 of which I believe were out of the country, fighting the highest level talent from each country that they had. The last guy I fought as an amateur was 16-0. So in terms of high level experience, in terms of having to break down opponents and figure out a route to victory, I've had to do this more times than he has. He has the advantage in that he has fought more 3 5-minute round fights, I suppose. I've only had one of those so far because the other people couldn't hang in there with me. But like I said, I don't see that as a disadvantage. I think he's going to be genuinely surprised with my level of composure. And I think that's going to be the one thing that gets him. If I were him, I would be thinking, oh, this kid's young. I'm going to take him to deep waters. I'm going to, try to use the veteran experience to try to make him make mistakes and whatever it is. But I think he's going to be genuinely surprised at my level of composure and my fight IQ, especially if he goes for a whole 15 minutes, which I doubt he will. But If it does, he's going to see me there every single second of that entire fight, fighting in a way that he's not used to seeing.
It's interesting you point to your amateur background because in the grand scheme of mixed martial arts and under the unified rules, that's been around for 24 years. Amateur MMA really wasn't a thing until about 10, maybe 15 years ago at the most, depending on where you came up. I grew up in the Midwest going to shows, Shane, where if you got a little bit too drunk and a little too lippy, you ended up saying something to the wrong guy. You ended up in the cage. You went home with an 0-1 pro record. Talk about that amateur run, though, because, taking on a guy who's 16-0, like that, there's some experience to be earned from that. And you mentioned, like, maybe he has more fight time as a pro, but I'm of the belief that there's a lot to be learned from an amateur run, even beyond the fighting time. It's the preparing for the fight. It's the walk to the actual cage. What was your biggest takeaway from your amateur run that you're able to lean on and use as a pro?
I think there's a key difference between amateur fighting and pro fighting. And kind of the biggest thing I would think is it's actually a lot harder to win in an amateur rule set because the 3-minute rounds, they favor wrestling. So you kind of have to use your IQ in order to steal rounds away. It's a lot harder to put people away in the amateur fighting because, of course, there's no knees, there's no elbows, there's no, sometimes there's shin guards depending if you're fighting in a tournament or whatnot. And they're bigger gloves too. So it's just harder to finish people. It's harder to hurt people. So then it now becomes a battle of octagon control, wrestling control time, what do they call that? Octagon generalship, things like this nature. The amateurs teach you how to win. Now, like in the pros, you kind of you get more time to figure things out. Longer rounds, every shot hurts. You land a jab, you feel it. You land something to the body, you can start to chip away at opponents a little bit more, which I feel like kind of really has helped me as a pro. I like fighting pro more than I liked fighting amateur because I do like to hurt people and I do like to take my time in doing so. I don't say that in like a violent way or anything. I like to take my time. I like to, find my rhythm and all of those things and start to chip away at my opponent, which is a lot harder to do as an amateur because you're dealing with, again, short rounds and there's not as much damage available for you. But if I had to say, like, the main thing that I got from that experience is just like how to win. I fought guys in tournaments that I didn't even know who I was fighting until the day before or even the day of. So to be able to watch a guy think, okay, this is what he does well, this is what he does mediocre, this is what he does poorly, this is what I do well, this is what I'm not good at. Okay, let me figure out a way to get this victory right now. I don't have a lot of time to prepare for it, so I just have to go off instinct. So my ability to change, my ability to adapt during the certain fight, whether it's going my way or not. I've had to win fights on the back foot. I've had to win fights on the front foot. I've had to wrestle off the back foot, the front foot on the cage. I've had to win fights off my back with submissions. I've had to win fights on top with ground and pound via submissions. I've had to win in almost every single way. And when I look at Cody, I think he wins one or two ways. So a lot more diversity for me on that part and a lot more ability to finish the fight from every position in the cage.
A fun featherweight fight is headed your way this Friday night live on UFC Fight Pass. One half of our main event is Shane Collins. He's kind enough to join myself, TJ DeSantis, and Johnny LaQuasto here on UFC Fight Pass.
And Shane, to follow up what you said, I mean, you nailed it. You talk about being patient, being calculated. Well, 2 of your 3 victories are second-round finishes, to where you were clearly in control in those first rounds, but then you really went for the kill, one via knockout, and then you got the guillotine, in the second round of your last fight that moved you to 3-0. But we can't interview you without talking about the Cobra Boys, all right? The kinship that you all have, the 5 of you, you train together nonstop. You are always in each other's corners. Speak to how much that friendship and that high level of skill and training means to you. And on top of that, one of your Cobra teammates, Bruno Souza, became a double champ at A127. Already had the featherweight title, just won the bantamweight title. So he vacated the 145. He said, I want my teammate Shane to have a chance. So it's a 2-part question. What does Cobra team mean to you? And what does it mean that Bruno said, hey, I'm okay not being the double champ. It's your turn now.
First of all, I just want to say that Bruno has kind of been the head of this Cobra team since we kind of formed it. He was the first person to technically fight under the Cobra team. He was the first person to kind of separate himself from the gym that we were at and kind of form this team. And so that means a lot that he feels this way about me. Obviously, I feel the same way about him, and I hope that he's going to be taking that next step towards the UFC now. And now it's my turn to get the belt. But in terms of what Cobra Team means, it's a very individual sport. It's a very selfish sport. You go in there alone and you have a job to do. But when it comes to the training, when it comes to learning, when it comes to people keeping you accountable, this is a team journey, and it's impossible to go anywhere in this sport if you don't have people that you trust around you. And I feel like the Cobra team was kind of just built on that foundation, especially when it comes to the coaching and the training. Is, these four other people in my group are the four people that I spend the most time with. They're the four people who I train with the most. They're the four people who know my weaknesses, my strengths, what I do when I feel confident, what I do when I feel insecure, what I do when I'm getting anxiety during a fight. Like, they know me in a very intimate way. And I think that intimacy is incredibly important when you're giving advice to people in the corner and when you're trying to tell people what to do when they're in such a vulnerable state. Because when you're in there, when you're locked in and the fight's going down, you're on autopilot. And if somebody says something, you're going to do it. And the last thing that you want is a guy who doesn't know you, who doesn't know your skill set, who doesn't know your emotional state, telling you things that you're just going to do in the heat of the moment, because that's where dangerous things happen. And I think we all kind of had a similar experience in that regard with our former team. Nothing bad to say about them, but that's just the way it is when you are a part of a team with 40 or 50 people on it. The coaches, the staff, whoever is cornering you, they're not going to know you in the same intimate way. So I have never felt more confident. I have never felt more at peace, and I have never felt more ready to just go to battle when I see that these people are by my side. And when I feel them with me, there's just nothing that can get me down. Like, I feel like I'm ready to give everything because I completely trust the people behind me and the people who are, giving me the advice. So it's everything. Not just in the training, but when it comes to the actual day of the fight.
And speaking of trusting everyone that you're with, what has Coach Mateus added to this camp for you?
Coach, he has been amazing. We moved out to Vegas essentially full time for the beginning of, I want to say, Bruno's fight camp for his last fight. So probably 6 or 8 weeks out before that, somewhere in February, we pretty much moved full time to Vegas. Mateus runs a very small and very intimate group of athletes at the PI. And so we've been able to be a part of his team, and he's really taken kind of a likeness to us, and he's been extremely committed to us, and he's kind of served as the head of the Cobra team. And now it takes a little bit of weight off our shoulders when it comes to organizing everybody's sparring, organizing everybody's training, obviously having game plans going into fights. And what I think he's really done well, he's essentially a Muay Thai coach, but he's an MMA coach, but he focuses more on the striking. So to have a guy who can read fights, who can kind of understand what the opponent brings, understand, again, what I bring to the table, I think that's the most important thing when it comes to being a coach. He might see a hole in Cody's game or whoever else, but he has to know that I can actually expose that hole with my skill set. So he knows us all intimately. He's good at reading the fights, and he is a very good trainer when it comes to working on specific counters, specific setups, specific things that I actually want to land in the fight. So working with him the last 2 or 3 months has been really amazing, just for my kind of repetition and my autopilot going into this fight. Like, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I know exactly what I'm going to do when I see the opportunity, and that's really all thanks to him.
And to follow that up with my final question, I know you say you feel behind schedule at 25, but as someone who's been there for your fights, the exponential growth in a short amount of time, in just over a year, really needs to be said. And safe to say, you're the most confident you've ever been. Do you feel that whether it's grappling or striking, I think you know what he wants to do. Do you feel like you can dictate the way you want the fight to go, or are you so confident that you can fight either style?
I can fight any way I want, essentially. But I understand that he likes to come forward. He likes to throw hands primarily. He's more of a volume striker. I can dance around on the back foot. This was kind of more of something I did as an amateur. A lot of footwork, a lot of switching stances, a lot of lateral movement. I can do that in point fight on the back foot. But I also know that, I can be a martial artist in every way. So I want to make it MMA. I'm not saying, not giving away any game plans or anything, of course, but I think it's going to be a joust for the center of the cage. I think it's going to be a joust for the center of the cage. I think whoever is controlling the center of the cage will, in their mind, be up. So, like I said, I can do essentially everything that I want. And speaking to my amateur background and adapting, if things aren't going that way, then I can certainly adapt to a different style, go back and forth until I get the victory. But I will be in control for all 15 minutes or less.
Well, it's definitely going to be an amazing main event. Two essentially homegrown A1 combat fighters just adds to the intriguing storyline. So, TJ, we're lucky enough to be calling it.
No, absolutely. And if you have a UFC Fight Pass subscription, you're lucky enough to be able to watch again this Friday a fun featherweight fight in your main event as Cody Vogels takes on our guest here, Shane Collins. Shane, in closing, you talked a lot about fight IQ, and I think adjustments are key to winning big fights like this and crowning yourself a champion. Fast forward to the ideal night for yourself. You get your hand raised, a belt wrapped around your waist. What is this win going to say about yourself, Shane, and ultimately what's coming your way in the next 2 or 3 fights?
It's an interesting question. First, I want to say that I appreciate A1 Combat doing this. I appreciate them putting me in the main event. I appreciate Cody. I respect Cody a ton. I want that to be clear. I might speak very confidently in what might come off as arrogant, but I do have a deep respect for him, a deep respect for the promotion. And I think that the promotion has a deep respect for me. They've been able to see what I've been capable of, not just what I've shown in the cage, but truly what I'm capable of. So to be 3-0, to be in this position, to be in a title fight main event, I think it says a lot of what they think. My ultimate goal for this fight is the same as every goal. I don't look to finish somebody in the first minute, the first 2 minutes, the first 3 minutes. If it happens, great. I want my full understanding of the sport. I want my technique, my tactics, my style, my abilities to kind of be seen before I close the show. So I want to show a level of composure that I've never shown. I want to show a level of defense that I've never shown. I want to show a level of mixed martial arts IQ that I've never shown. And once I do those things, then I would like to get the finish. But until then, I would like to show all the skill sets and all the things that I bring to the table as a high level martial artist. And like I said, I don't plan on being here for a long time. So when I'm in the A1 combat cage, I want to show as much as I possibly can, and I want to show that I'm truly on that next level. And that's my ultimate goal, is just to go out there and put on, what can I say, a UFC level performance.
Well, we can't wait to watch it again this Friday night live on UFC Fight Pass. Shane, best of luck against Cody Vogels, and we'll see if you walk out Chumash, the new A1 combat featherweight king.
Yeah, we will see.